On the day Julian's family company went public, the scholarship student he sponsored slipped something into his drink. When I saw what she was doing, I warned her not to cause trouble. The student, Sarah, was mortified and shouted, "You're making things up to ruin my reputation!" She then turned and ran, only to be hit and killed by a car. When Julian found out, he just expressed his disgust, saying, "I gave her money for her education, and this is how she repays me, with such shamelessness." 3 years later, on the day I married Julian, he drugged me and left me locked in a room with several thugs. I was assaulted and died a terrible death. It was only then that I understood he had been deeply in love with Sarah all along, and the drug that day had just been part of a game between them. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Julian's family company went public. This time, I was curious to see how their little game would play out. "Julian, congratulations," I said, handing him a glass of champagne, my eyes bright. "Thank you for sponsoring me all this time and for inviting me to your celebration." Julian glanced at her before taking the glass. "Thank you," he replied. I stood to the side and watched him drink the entire glass of champagne, making no move to stop him as I had in my past life. In my previous life, after I saw her drug his drink, I had rushed over to prevent him from drinking it. I publicly accused her of her actions. In front of everyone, she had been so ashamed that she cried out, "You're making things up to ruin my reputation," before running out of the hotel and into the path of the car that killed her. Julian had simply remarked, "I sponsored her, and yet she drugged me. She was shameless and deserved what she got." But 3 years later, on our wedding night, he had used the same drug on me. "Chloe," he had said, "that glass of wine was a game between Sarah and me. Why did you have to interfere? She was the woman I loved most in my life. This is what you get for causing her death." He locked me, drugged, in a room with several men, and I was tortured to death. The intense hatred, humiliation, and pain were all I knew. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. As if he could feel my stare, Julian, holding his glass, looked over at me. I offered a small smile. "Don't worry, Julian," I thought. "In this life, I won't stop you from drinking this champagne. You can play your games however you like." After Julian finished his drink, he raised his glass to me in a silent toast. I raised mine in return, wishing them a lifetime tied together. About 10 minutes later, Julian's face began to flush. Sarah glanced at him and then left, giving him a slightly provocative look as she did. Julian gritted his teeth and took a deep, quiet breath to compose himself. He walked over to me, his voice, already deep, now a bit hoarse. "Chloe, I have to take care of something. Can I leave you to manage things here for a bit? Please help me entertain the guests." I feigned concern. "Your face looks a little flushed. Are you feeling all right?" A slight smile touched the corners of his mouth. The drug must have been taking effect, but he was still able to maintain a gentlemanly appearance. "I'm fine, thank you for your help." I gave him an understanding smile. "Why be so formal with me? Go take care of your business." Julian nodded, gave me another look, greeted a few other important guests, and then left. I continued to mingle, making small talk with the other attendees, but I kept an eye on Sarah's movements. Almost 10 minutes later, she also slipped out of the banquet hall. She was an inconspicuous person, and no one paid her any mind when she left. "Excuse me for a moment," I said to the person I was speaking with, clinking my glass against theirs. I nodded, placed my glass on a passing waiter's tray, and followed her. In my past life, I had stopped Julian from drinking the champagne, so none of this had happened. This time, I followed Sarah and discovered they were meeting in my private suite. This hotel belonged to my family, and I had my own exclusive room that no one else, except for my closest friends, was allowed to enter. It was one thing for him to cheat on me, but to do it in my own space was another level of disrespect. I let out a long breath and continued to watch from a distance, taking out my phone to record everything. Sarah stopped at the door to the suite, tidied her clothes and hair, and then knocked. A moment later, the door opened, and a hand reached out, grabbing her wrist and pulling her inside with a forceful, dominant motion. The door closed, and I could hear Sarah's soft moans through the crack. I walked quietly down the carpeted hallway, the thick rug muffling my steps. After waiting for a short while, I carefully opened the door and stepped inside. Clothes were scattered across the floor, both men's and women's garments, lying in a suggestive tangle. I looked toward the stairs, from where ambiguous sounds continued to drift down. I heard Sarah giggle, her voice like silver bells, as she playfully teased, "You lost." This was followed by the sound of passionate kissing. I heard a door open upstairs, and the sounds of their intimacy grew louder. Julian was telling her to call him different names, and it was a side of him I had never seen before. After I had recorded enough, I saved the video and left the suite. I decided the room would be demolished and renovated tomorrow, then opened to the public. Today was a significant day for Julian, and many reporters were already waiting outside the hotel, hoping to get a picture of him. I went downstairs but didn't return to the banquet hall right away. I called my assistant Maya and whispered to her, "Find a way to get a few reporters up to my suite. Make sure they aren't recognized." Maya had been with me since graduation. She was highly capable and knew how to handle things discreetly. I trusted her completely with something like this. She nodded and went to do as I asked. Soon after, Julian's father approached me with a grave expression. "Come outside for a moment." I pretended to be surprised. "What is it, Uncle? Has something happened?" Julian's father frowned. "Just come outside and we'll talk," he said in a low voice. As I was about to follow him, Maya rushed in, looking panicked. "There's a huge problem," she shouted. "Julian and that woman were caught by reporters in your suite. President, you should go and see." Julian's father was flustered. He seemed to want to cover Maya's mouth and my ears at the same time. He settled for getting angry. "You little rascal," he said to me. "Don't worry, I will give you a proper explanation." Then he glared at Maya and strode out. I stood there, putting on a sad expression. Many of the important guests came over, unsure whether to comfort me or not in such a situation. In the end, they chose to praise me, saying I was Julian's right-hand woman and that his success was largely due to my help over the years, but that he had done something to betray me. A right-hand woman. I didn't take it as a compliment. I sighed and said, "Thank you. I hope we'll have opportunities to cooperate in the future." The guests raised their glasses to me. "Chloe is outstanding among the younger generation. I want my own son to learn from you," one said. I forced a smile, maintaining the image of a wronged victim, and thanked them one by one. I don't know how much time passed before Julian was dragged in front of me by his father. On such an important day, he had created a massive scandal. It would have been one thing if no one knew, but now everyone did, and the media was involved. Julian's father was a smart man. He knew he couldn't just let the situation fester. None of the people present could be silenced, so he chose to address it openly. "You worthless boy, apologize to Chloe right now," he demanded. The color hadn't fully returned to Julian's face. His hair, which had been perfectly styled earlier, was now a mess, with a few strands stuck to his sweaty forehead. When he spoke, his voice was terribly hoarse. He coughed slightly and began, "Let me explain." "I told you to apologize to Chloe," his father said sternly. Julian gritted his teeth. He probably wished the ground would swallow him whole. Making a fool of himself in front of so many influential people would ruin his image. In the future, people would remember him as the guy who couldn't control himself on the day his company went public. The guests were magnanimous, but they also enjoyed gossip. He clenched his fists and looked into my eyes, his expression a mixture of a plea and a warning. "Chloe, I'm sorry. Please forgive me this time." Was he asking me to save his reputation? I looked at Julian's father. To show his sincerity, he had someone bring Sarah over. "Chloe, don't be angry. I'll let you deal with this shameless woman today." Sarah's face was a mask of panic. She kept her head down, weeping, not wanting anyone to see her face. It was too late to feel embarrassed. Julian, seeing the woman he loved in distress, couldn't help but say, "Dad, she's a girl." "Shut up," his father growled. "Chloe hasn't forgiven you yet." Julian took a deep breath and walked toward me, reaching out to take my hand. I took a small step back. His dark eyes narrowed, and he lowered his voice. "Let's talk about this after the banquet is over." The other guests likely wanted to see how the drama would unfold, but they were tactful enough to start making excuses to leave. I don't know if they were trying to give me face or Julian. My gaze shifted between Julian and Sarah, and I said with a smile, "Since everyone is here today, I'd like to ask you all to be my witnesses." Hearing this, everyone stopped. Julian stared at me with a warning in his eyes, as if to ask what I was planning. I curled the corners of my mouth and continued, "Since Julian and Sarah are truly in love, then I will step aside and allow them to be together." Julian's father hurriedly said, This won't do." Julian stood in front of his father, looking at me with a mix of disbelief and doubt. "Chloe, are you serious?" Sarah was also incredulous, as if she couldn't believe I would give up Julian so easily. Honestly, he was just a man. If they had told me the truth in my past life, that they loved each other and wanted me to step aside, I wouldn't have clung to him, but they didn't. Julian couldn't let go of the benefits our family alliance brought him, nor could he let go of Sarah. He wanted both. I don't believe he truly loved her. He was just an exquisite egoist who loved no one but himself. I died unjustly in my previous life. While Sarah knew Julian was engaged to me and still got involved with him, she didn't deserve to die either. The one who most deserved it was Julian. In front of everyone, I repeated, "If you two are truly in love, I am willing to step aside." Julian's father was quick to react. "Chloe, a marriage contract is not a joke. The contract between you and Julian concerns the interests of both our families." He didn't finish his thought, but Julian understood. He looked at Sarah, and after a moment, his gaze returned to me. "Chloe, ending this—" "I was just trying to save you some face," I said, interrupting him with a laugh. "Julian, did you really think that after you cheated and caused such a huge scene, I would still want to honor this marriage contract?" Of course, I wasn't just saving his face. I was preserving my own dignity. In front of so many influential people, I had to display my good breeding and magnanimity. However, I couldn't just keep backing down and let everyone think I was a pushover. "The marriage contract between our two families is hereby terminated." "Julian, be good to her." I gave him another smile, nodded to everyone, and left. My parents were also there, but they hadn't said a word. They simply left with me. Their silence was their support. For families like ours, arranged marriages are about benefits, about making 1 + 1 equal more than 2. My parents not opposing my decision meant they were willing to forgo the benefits of an alliance with Julian's family. This sent a clear signal to everyone that Julian's family had offended mine, and that it was Julian who had destroyed this opportunity because of his personal desires. The next morning, I saw Julian as soon as I came downstairs. I stood on the stairs, and he stood below, our eyes meeting. "What are you doing here?" I asked as I descended and walked toward the living room. My father was sitting on the sofa reading a newspaper, and my mother was drinking coffee. Seeing me, my mother gracefully put down her cup and smiled slightly. "Chloe, Julian has been waiting for you for almost an hour." Her voice was colder than usual. My father just glanced at me before returning to his newspaper. I looked at Julian with a smile. "What is it?" "Chloe, I'm here to apologize to you," Julian said seriously, though it was clear how difficult it was for him to swallow his pride. I sat on the sofa and looked at him lazily. "Didn't I make things clear enough yesterday at your company's celebration?" "Julian, we've terminated the marriage contract, and our families will no longer cooperate." Julian took a deep breath. "Just because of me and her? Even though your uncle and aunt are here, I just made a mistake that any man would make. Do you have to be so dramatic? Can the cooperation between our families be ended just like that?" I raised my eyebrows. "So, are you willing to sacrifice your beloved for your career?" Julian was at a loss for words. He took another deep breath and said coldly, "I've already apologized, Chloe. Don't be so willful." My father coughed slightly and put down his newspaper. Usually an easygoing person, he now looked imposing. "Julian, first of all, you have to admit that this is not my daughter's fault. Secondly, even if my daughter still wanted to be with you, her mother and I would not agree. As parents, we are very satisfied with Chloe's decision." Seeing that my parents were firm, Julian knew there was no room for negotiation. He nodded. "Okay, since that's the case, I have nothing more to say. Just Chloe, don't regret this." He left with that final sentence. Last night's scandal caused the stock price of his newly listed company to drop sharply. Now, not only was his family displeased, but the other shareholders had many complaints about him. Just as I was wondering how Julian would handle this public relations crisis, Sarah stepped forward. In front of a camera, wearing light, natural-looking makeup, she tearfully recorded a video. For years, Julian has been sponsoring my education. Instead of being grateful, I drugged him on the day of his company's listing. I spent all of last night in deep self-blame, so I decided to come forward and clarify things. The person Julian has always loved is Chloe from the Chloe family group. It was I who destroyed their relationship. I want to offer my sincere apology to Julian and Chloe. Please forgive me. She bowed deeply to the camera. I couldn't help but want to applaud. For Julian's sake, she was willing to admit to all of this. Not long after I watched the video, Maya came in. "President, that Sarah is here. She's downstairs and wants to see you." "Didn't you tell her I'm not available?" Maya frowned slightly. "I told her, but she refused to leave and has been waiting." I thought for a moment. "Let her in." Maya was puzzled. "President, why are you seeing her?" I wasn't sure if she had made that statement voluntarily or if Julian had forced her to. There was also the possibility that she had seen Julian's true colors and wanted to cooperate with me. My enemy was Julian, after all. I would be happy to have an extra ally. "Let her come up," I said again. Maya went out and had someone bring her in. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She scanned my office and then walked up to me, smiling smugly. "Chloe, have you seen my apology video?" I nodded. She sneered. "You must be laughing at me, right?" Before I could answer, she raised her chin. "It's just a temporary solution. Julian promised me that if I came forward and took the blame, he would marry me soon. Soon I'll be Mrs. Julian, so you're not qualified to laugh at me. If you want something, you have to pay a price. Obviously, I won this time. I won completely." She looked very proud, but behind her smugness, I saw a deep-seated inferiority. "You knew I had a marriage contract with Julian," I said. "Why did you get involved? Did you ever consider my feelings when you were with him?" She smiled dismissively. "What's wrong with me and Julian being in love? Why should I consider you?" I raised my eyebrows and nodded. "Okay, since that's the case, I don't need to worry about anything anymore." She frowned. "What do you mean?" I took out my phone, found the video I had recorded last night, and sent it to several marketing accounts. Then I gave her a friendly smile. "I've prepared a surprise for you." The marketing accounts were incredibly fast. The video spread like wildfire. Since only a small part of the scene was recorded, it wasn't blocked. The conversation between Julian and her echoed in my office. She had seen the video on her own phone and played it. Her eyes widened, her pupils shaking. "You! Why are you doing this to me? Chloe, you're also a woman. How could you spread a video like that?" I looked at her with sympathy. "Now you remember that I'm a woman? Do you remember what I asked you just now?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears and hatred. "Chloe, you're too much!" she cried and ran away. Am I too much? If she wanted to think so, that was her business. Julian's call came in soon after. As soon as I answered, his angry voice came through. "Chloe, you're too much." I smiled slightly. "Your dearest woman just said the same thing to me. Don't you have anything new to say?" Julian's voice was low and certain. "You were the one who called the reporters last night." I slowly curled my lips, imagining him fuming. "Now you can be with your dearest woman. How are you going to thank me?" There was silence on the other end of the phone, and then Julian's cold voice came through again. "Chloe, I don't regret ending things with a woman like you. A woman like you will never be truly liked by any man." "Me neither," I replied. "I've never really liked you. So what if you think you've won? In fact, you're the biggest loser." I was amused by his words and laughed out loud. "What have I lost? Your love? A man's love? Julian, is your love so valuable? You'd better spend this time explaining things to your shareholders. See if they still like you." I couldn't stop laughing. I hung up the phone with a smile and shook my head. I admit that I did like Julian once. We were childhood sweethearts after all. But love isn't that important to me. This was also one of the reasons I hated him. Why didn't he just tell me the truth in my previous life? I would have let him be with her. But he killed me in the cruelest way possible. I would never let him go. Once the video of Julian and Sarah's affair was released, the already declining stock price of his family's company took an even bigger hit. The next morning, I saw photos Maya sent me of the lights on in Julian's family group building at 4:00 a.m. I smiled. Maya was really something. I felt for the employees in their public relations department, who must have been racking their brains for a solution. At 9:00 a.m., Julian's family group issued a statement officially announcing Julian and Sarah's relationship. Julian also posted on his own account, saying they were truly in love and that he would overcome any difficulties to be with the woman he loved most. Sarah started a live stream, crying pitifully but unable to hide her happiness. I released the video yesterday without discussing it with Julian. After he found out, he scolded me, saying he would never allow me to do anything to hurt myself again and that he would take care of everything. So I think everything I've done is worth it. I'm just in love with someone. I'm not wrong. Love itself is fluid, isn't it? It's just that Julian's love has flowed to me. She also encouraged young people to be brave in pursuing love. It was obvious that Julian's family group had hired online trolls to post supportive comments. It's hard to see such pure love in this era. One wrote, I never believed in the Cinderella story before, but seeing Julian and her, I believe it now. After reading these comments, Maya finally spoke. Are these people serious? I've written down their names. When they get old, I'll sell them health products. I thought the public relations team could have come up with a better plan. What they did was just self-delusion. Their efforts only provided more material for people to make fun of. The comment sections were hilarious. The scumbag cheated on his fiancée, and the girl knew he had a partner but still got involved. If this can be whitewashed as true love, then our generation has failed. The only way for Julian to restore his image is to make all the nuclear wastewater flow back. The heat of the matter would have died down in a few days, but now it seemed it wouldn't go away for a while. Of course, I also contributed to this. It wasn't just Julian's family that had online trolls. I had them too. The shareholders of Julian's family group were already dissatisfied with him, and now they couldn't wait to get rid of him. These days, every time Maya entered my office, she had a big smile on her face. President? She said one day. The latest news is that the major shareholders have been putting pressure on Julian's family. His position as president is in jeopardy. Mr. Harrison, the second largest shareholder, has long wanted to put his son in that position. He won't let this opportunity pass. I had seen Mr. Harrison's ambition long ago, and had even warned Julian about it. Now it seemed Mr. Harrison and I were going to be allies. Arrange a meeting with Mr. Harrison, I told Maya. She came back soon. President, guess what? Mr. Harrison agreed immediately. He's probably eager to cooperate with you. He's invited you to meet in his private wine cellar at 7:30 this evening. At 7:30, I arrived at the Harrison family's private wine cellar. A staff member led me in. When the door opened, the person waiting for me wasn't Mr. Harrison, but his son, Ethan. You're here, Ethan said, pouring a glass of wine and handing it to me. I made it myself. Have a taste. I didn't take the glass, just looked at it. Ethan gently swirled the wine. Give me some feedback. I chuckled and looked up at him. My opinion is that if the Harrison family wants to cooperate with me, you and your father should show some sincerity. A beauty trap won't work on me. Ethan didn't get angry, he laughed. Is your mouth smeared with honey, Chloe? I put my bag on the mahogany table and sat down. Since your father asked you to meet me, I'll be direct. I can help you get the position, but I want real benefits. I can have as many men as I want. Your family's men aren't that precious. Ethan laughed softly and also sat down. Since you've said so, I won't make a fool of myself. I can make decisions on behalf of my father. After it's done, I'll give you 5% of the shares. I had been with Julian for so many years and never got a single share from him. Of course, at the time, I liked him and didn't care about those things. But it's different now. 7, I said. Ethan's eyes filled with laughter. Chloe, you have quite an appetite. Ethan, you won't lose out either, right? He didn't say anything but handed the glass of red wine to me again. This time, I took it, clinked glasses with him, and drank it all. After reaching our agreement, I left. In the car, Maya told me some good news. President, I've already bought a lot of the scattered shares of Julian's family group. I nodded with satisfaction. With the Harrison family's help, I could just sit back and reap the benefits. A few days later, Julian's family group officially announced that he and Sarah had registered for marriage. I hadn't appeared in public for a long time. After all, I was the victim in this love triangle, and sometimes it's necessary to play that role to win sympathy. My disappearance only made the public more interested. People love gossip among the wealthy. Some female netizens were disappointed in me. Chloe, are you defeated just like this? Wake up, men are nothing. Focus on your career. We'll support you. Others were more direct. Honey, look at me, I'll be devoted to you. It was relaxing to read the comments. My mother saw them too and asked, when do you plan to make a comeback? Tomorrow night, I said, choosing a dress in my closet. There's a business reception. It's the perfect time for a high-profile return. I wasn't surprised to see Julian and Sarah at the reception. When Julian saw me, he held Sarah even tighter, a childish trick to make me angry. I ignored it and took a glass of champagne, walking over to Mr. Chen of Chain Enterprise. He had always been interested in cooperating with Julian's family group and had asked me to help make the connection before. Since Julian's affair, he hadn't mentioned it. I clinked glasses with him and asked with a smile, "How's the cooperation between you and Julian's family group going?" Mr. Chen laughed. "Thank you for your concern, Chloe." I curled the corners of my mouth. "Uncle Chen, if you want to continue cooperating with them, I can help make the connection. After all, what everyone values is profit, right?" We chatted for a while, and then I said goodbye. As soon as I turned around, I saw Julian and Sarah wandering in front of me again. I simply ignored them and continued to greet other people, but they were like flies, always in my sight. When I came out of the washroom, Julian approached me alone. I sneered. "Why are you alone? Where's your inseparable lover?" He looked at me with contempt. "Chloe, do you know why I like her and not you? Look at yourself. Men like gentle women. Where's your femininity?" I was a bit speechless. "Is this what you came to tell me?" I nodded. "Okay, you can keep thinking about who you like. Just don't waste your energy on me." I walked past him. His voice followed me. "Do you want to cooperate with Chain Enterprise? They want to cooperate with my family's company. You don't have a chance." I wouldn't remind him of the truth. Let him live in his dream. Just after he left, Sarah came up to me, a greasy, affected elegance in her smile. "I'm Mrs. Julian now." "How about that? You must hate me. So many women wanted this position and I got it. You were just one step away, weren't you? It must feel terrible. I heard you didn't go out for days. Did you only dare to come out when the swelling around your eyes went down?" It was another petty trick. They were a perfect match. I raised my glass to her. "By the way, I almost forgot to congratulate you, Mrs. Julian. Happy newlyweds. When's the wedding? Remember to invite us." Just then, an influential person who was friendly with me came over. "Our Mrs. Julian is really something. Come on, let's all raise our glasses and congratulate Mrs. Julian." Everyone present knew she had been the mistress who had successfully taken the position. If she wanted the spotlight, I would let her have it. At that moment, Julian returned. Seeing Sarah as the center of attention and everyone looking at him with ambiguous expressions, he immediately realized what was happening. He smiled and greeted everyone, then took her away. I guessed he wouldn't dare bring her to such occasions for a while. With my help, Mr. Chen did reach a cooperation with Julian's family group. However, the one who signed the contract wasn't Julian or his father, but Ethan. Ethan opened a branch company under the group, and now that he had won the Chain Enterprise project, he would definitely be on the head office's financial report by the end of the year. With the support of Mr. Chen and me, Ethan smoothly took the position of president of Julian's family group. I also got my 7% of the shares, plus the scattered shares I had collected, giving me nearly 10% in total. I was now a major shareholder. Only then did Julian realize the seriousness of the situation. He found me and angrily questioned, "Why are you doing this to me?" I smiled. "Revenge." He narrowed his eyes. "Just because I don't love you?" Even now, he was still focused on love. I never realized he was such a lovesick fool. My cell phone rang. After answering, I smiled at Julian. "Let's go to your company. If you're lucky, I'll give you a ride." He was puzzled. "What are you going there for?" "The shareholders' meeting. Didn't they notify you?" I glanced at my watch. "Hurry up, we'll be late." I opened the car door and he followed. "Your shares were taken back by me. You're no longer a shareholder of my family's company. After our marriage contract was terminated, we had returned each other's shares. Now, he didn't have any shares in my family's group, but I had shares in his." I looked at him as if he were an idiot. "Get in the car." The shareholders' meeting had one purpose: to impeach the chairman. The internal struggles had always been there, but now they were out in the open. Mr. Harrison had laid the groundwork, and today was the day to reveal the result. Julian's father was out. When I raised my hand to vote, Julian's eyes turned red and he rushed toward me. "Chloe, you!" Ethan blocked him. "Brother, it doesn't matter if the company is gone. Don't lose your gentlemanly manners." Julian wanted to fight, and Ethan had security drag him out. Ethan and I looked at each other, both satisfied with our cooperation. I thought Julian would remain defiant, but he came to me a few days later. He had dressed carefully but still looked haggard. "Chloe, I'm here to admit my mistake. I was blinded by her. You're the only one I've ever loved. We're childhood sweethearts. The feelings between us are the strongest, aren't they? Could you give me another chance? I can't live without you. I let him finish before saying, I'm busy. I have to go. As I got in the car, I asked Maya, did you record that? Every detail, she said, showing me the video. Okay, send it to her. I thought Sarah would make a scene with Julian after watching the video, but instead she came to me. Chloe, you're shameless. Julian is mine. He's married to me, and you're still trying to seduce him. You're the mistress. My upbringing couldn't stop me from rolling my eyes. Julian is about to lose everything. Only you still see him as a treasure. If I were you, I'd sell what I could and divorce him as soon as possible, before you have to pay off his debts with him. She was stunned for a moment, then gave me a look and ran away. It seemed she still had some sense, but it appeared Julian didn't want a divorce. The video of them arguing in a parking lot eventually reached me. How dare you kick me when I'm down? Julian yelled. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this situation. He slapped her across the face, and she fell to the ground. She screamed and lunged at him, and it turned into a full-blown fight. The video went viral without any help from online trolls. Later, I heard that Sarah couldn't get a divorce, so she took the money from selling her things and fled the country. Ethan also brought me some news. Julian had gone abroad to find her. Abroad? I smiled meaningfully and nodded. Thank you for telling me. After he left, I made a phone call and then went back to the company. A few days later, I got more news. Julian was dead. He had been tortured to death by several thugs abroad, in the exact same way I had died in my previous life. After the news broke, Ethan called me immediately. Chloe, did you have to be so cruel? I feigned ignorance. What are you talking about? I don't understand. He clicked his tongue and hung up. I looked at the screen, put down my phone and walked to the window. From this height, everything on the ground looked like ants. It was the first time I had observed the world from this angle. It was quite interesting. In this life, I decided, I would keep climbing higher.